Joining me tonight, ASTV. Thanks for everyone for coming in. On the ice, Wayne's World. Part one, as always. Happy Tuesday to Mr. Wayne Kosior. Wayne, how's the weather for you? We always start off with the weather. Should we start about something different?
Weather's always a good thing. Any of us guys are from the prairies. I grew up on a farm. The topic of weather was always a hot topic because it usually meant if you could eat or not that night, if there's some good weather and you harvested. So always important to me.
Absolutely, yeah. It's good to see you back home in Saskatchewan. How was the road trip to Alberta, and did you bring me cool artifacts back?
The trip was great. A little mini holiday for me and the wife, and caught a lot of hockey, and was working during the days while I was away in Alberta. But no, didn't bring anything back other than, memories of a great time and a lot of fun watching junior hockey.
Just a real quick comment on the game that it was a 1-0 game, I believe, but there was a more important storyline to the game and how both benches took care of an anti-bullying comment. Talk to me about the attitude in the rink and how important that is for the spectators and the players involved.
Yeah, it was a fantastic evening, and I'm glad you raised that, Theo. Even outside the arena downtown, they had the Calgary Tower and some of the office buildings all lit up in pink lights. And we went into the Saddle Dome. They were handing out pink towels and stuff. And then for the O Canada, all the players from the Hitmen and the Raiders surrounded center ice in a circle and alternated player, team by team, and held hands. And, it showed a real nice show of unity, I guess, against bullying and harassment in hockey and in life in general.
Absolutely. No, and certainly something that should be taken into account for all games. And I mean, it's one part about sportsmanship that is never spoken enough of, but it's always there. And it's truly the reason why a lot of players get involved in a game, to have friends and to build those cohorts. But at the same time, it's how a lot of players can get removed from a game because of situations that occur. So we'll leave it at that. It's a new month, Wayne, but the topics are fairly the same. You had a wonderful gentleman last night speaking on the Trailblazer Hockey webinar series, Mr. Hunt, I should say. Get his name wrong all the time. But the GM of the Prince Raiders, this team your son plays for, brought up a great conversation about the intangibles that an advisor looks for and how they compare and how they might differ to how the organization, the scouts, the GMs, the coaches themselves look for. Talk to us a little about how those two conversations go about and how they differ.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, it was a great session. I had great attendance with Curtis Hunt speaking there, and he did share a lot of great insights to our clients and our broader audience and stuff. But, as far as the intangibles, my take on that is, I think every hockey organization looks at intangibles potentially at varying levels and maybe, different types of intangibles and stuff. But certainly something that all teams, all GMs, all coaches look at and consider it's an important part of the player. It may be as much as 50% of a rating on a player. You have your 50% on tangible skills like skating, puck moving, and all that stuff. But then the intangibles, as far as character, work ethic, all that stuff are important stuff. From an advisor, I mean, we certainly educate our players on those intangibles and how it's extremely important that they display those in games. A lot of players, I think, and families think it's just totally based on points. It's not. I mean, that's obviously a key metric when we're looking at players, both from a GM perspective as well as an advisor perspective. But the intangible ones, I think, are the easiest ones that you can influence. A lot of it is just simple stuff like body language, right? If you make a mistake, do you kind of go to the bench and sulk or something, or do you blame a teammate, or you just own up and say, "Hey, man, I messed up. I'm not going to let that happen again next time. Let's go get them," and stuff, right? Which is the attitude teams want. So, the difference being, I guess, I try to coach players and mentor them on how they need to handle those intangibles and display them. And that's directly so that the GMs and scouts and stuff, the teams that they may be interested in playing for, see that in those players.
I really enjoyed the comment that he made about only you know, and probably your team know, when you've made a mistake on the ice. And if you show it, then the rest of the audience, the spectators, everybody watching online knows you've made a mistake as well. So if you're able to, it's not a bad thing to show it, but it can become more of a detriment to your character per se. If you continue to show those, I mean, obviously we're going to have little clips and whatnot. We're going to get emotional. But if you come on the bench and you're quiet about it and you say, you know what, yeah, guys, hey, I won't have that happen again. How
Yeah.
quickly you can, let water fall off a duck's back, so to speak. Then you can then see how well you are able to implement your real game into the next shift. I thought that was a really key point that was made up last night. Talk to us about what you as an advisor would look at, per se, a little differently compared to what the organization will. How those conversations between you and the organization then help advise a player in a certain way that a coach or a GM may not see that player.
I think I go back to kind of what I was alluding to earlier. I mean, I see it as two different sides of the coin almost. I try to teach these players how to display, the intangible characteristics that I know that the vast majority of teams want and stuff. And that's obviously based on my, deep knowledge of hockey, as well as just, the numerous conversations I have with GMs and directors of scouting to hear what they look for in players and stuff. And so, with our particular agency, we don't judge players taking them in. We're one of the few agencies that out there, and that's why I think we're having so much success, is we don't judge. We feel we can make any player a better human being, a better hockey player, a better academic. And we just kind of look at what their baseline is when they come in, and look for ways that we can enhance all those areas. And intangibles would be one of those key areas that we would work on improving. And, we think over the next couple of years, we're going to see some incredible success stories in players, advancing themselves from, where they came in with us. And that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what makes us successful and us happy. And I think we're going to have successful and happy clients.
One stat line that doesn't show up on the back of a hockey card and probably hasn't talked about as much because it's only going to start showing up now. And that's the ability for a player to handle or have the support with regards to their mental health. Their physical health is certainly on display every day. We see it now more so in their preparations off the ice in their off season, but we don't talk enough about the importance of having that mindset and being properly, have your head on your shoulders the best way. Are we going to see more efforts towards, not just from an advisory standpoint, but from a league standpoint, from a team standpoint, to address those comments and those concerns that maybe parents have, players have, and will players be able to address them because they feel more comfortable speaking out about them?
Yeah, well, I think there's been improvements every year, literally almost every day at leagues at every level. And I mean, you start off with the anti-bullying thing. I mean, that's a key thing right there. That can negatively impact players' mental health. And that bully and harassment can come from a coach. It can come from a player. It can come from a fan, somebody else within the organization. It can come from so many different areas. And, I just think we're kind of finally getting a grasp on the negative impacts that has on an individual's mental health, particularly if they're vulnerable people. And, history and research is showing people that are bullies are able to single out those that are the weakest, and that's who they go after regretfully. Because if somebody's in a good mental health space and is confident, you can't bully them, right? Because they're confident, they'll stand up for themselves. But again, bullies go after the weak, which is, a real problem in my opinion.
There are certainly power in numbers, and if you have more people on the same page, quite frankly, you have better chance of team winning, team success. And that was something that was definitely on display last night. We're going to switch topics just a little bit because there is something going on. When we think about, the easing up of restrictions and protocols all over this wonderful nation of ours, we are starting to see, differences and struggle of power in overseas, especially when it comes to what's happening between the borders of the Russian and Ukrainian people. It's also following into suit some directions and some decisions that are being made here in North America involving World Juniors and players' participation and players' personal feelings towards what's going on. Wayne, give me your sense of what you see or how you feel about the decisions being made for teams not being able to compete, players not being able to compete. How is that going to be affecting their play over the coming months?
Well, first and foremost, I guess it's number one, an extremely complex issue regarding an extremely sad situation where, some very vulnerable people, I guess, there they go. They're getting bullied in the worst way possible, basically being attacked by, a world power. for obviously political and economic gain, which is extremely sad. And so, obviously, I'm totally against what's happening over there and what Russia and obviously Putin is driving. I do, in full disclosure, represent both Russian and Belarusian players. Fantastic people, all of them I've actually have personally met over the past 3 years when I've been in Russia on scouting trips and stuff like that. And, these people are definitely not in the wealthy. I mean, I would actually put them on the lower middle class. I've actually discounted their fees in order to help them and stuff. But, I feel for them. I mean, it just goes to show you that these great people that I know that live in Russia and Belarus, including a couple players that play with Prince Albert Raiders, just great people, come from great families. But, they're not part of the problem. It's at the higher government levels, the guys with a lot of money. I can't think of the word right now. And, so it's a difficult thing. I mean, you look at, what are they going to do at the NHL level? I think that's a different beast than what they do at the, WHL or Canadian Hockey League level. NHL draft. What are they going to do? Or the CHL draft? I mean, do you prohibit them from getting drafted this year? Do you send these people home? And I don't think there's any easy answers. I've given it some thought. I have some ideas. Are my ideas right? I don't know, but we can certainly talk about those, in our discussion here today and share some of my ideas. And I'd welcome some of yours. And I've heard lots, on the radios and talk shows and stuff. And, starting with Ovechkin kind of, basically standing behind Putin. But, there's two sides to that. I mean, number one, he's afraid for his family back home that lives in Russia and is obviously part of the elite there and is probably closely tied to Putin. And that's why he has to say that. But at the same time, you can't back somebody when you're living in the free world, enjoying our stuff. And then back home, your guy is murdering helpless people. So, I'll stop there and throw some of your ideas in there.
We could go down this rabbit hole deep. And like you said, it's a definite separation of the haves and the have-nots. I recall when I was younger, helping a team that came to Winnipeg. I think they came to several cities in Western Canada. They were called Druzhba 78. And it was a team that was put together from the age of 13 or 12. And they had played their entire career together. They were all born in 1978, so a little bit older than myself. But nonetheless, they came across with zero. They basically came with a couple of sets of clothes. They came with skates. They came with some gear. And they came hoping to play hockey against our elite teams. We had summer teams that were put together. They destroyed our summer teams because they were highly skilled. They used a revolving bench where there was one door in, one door out. There wasn't a forward. There wasn't a defensive door. The way they played their game was so seamless and impressive. And the amount of efforts given to these teams to get equipment clearly showed that they were thankful and appreciative and selfless to themselves to say, we want to play this game. We want to be given every opportunity. And at the same time, you see, like you mentioned, players that have, and they have to represent what they have to do or what they feel they should do, because without, they're going to be ending up without. Mm-hmm. I'll leave the professionals aside on this, but more importantly, it's all about, the opportunity to gain from what you have. And if you have very little, you appreciate that much more. And I really feel for the people that are being left over there fighting for their country and their democracy and their diplomacy, really, their sovereignty, because what's being pressed upon them should never have been that way. And 30 years of, freedom, they deserve more, quite frankly. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who's got family out there, and their dad is fighting, and they've all been able to escape to Germany. So we can go weeks and weeks on this, Wayne. We'll touch on this some more as we get into it over the coming weeks, because we're going to see how this transforms, because like we've seen already, World Juniors aren't going to have Russian teams. Russia has already been excluded from the 23 World Junior Championship, losing its host city. So we're going to, and it's not just hockey. We're talking soccer. We're talking other Olympic sports, international sport that's being removed, competition being removed, not on the fault of the competitors, rather it's the fault on the government. And we're going to see how the rest of this falls through. Wayne, I really appreciate your insight on that. We're going to get some more of that too coming up. Busy March for you?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty busy. I mean, we're getting busy with all the spring camps that are starting up at all the prep schools, at all the junior A clubs, the North American League, the USHL. Before long, I mean, the WHL is going to go a little bit later this year, but before long, those will be firing up, and the draft is just around the corner. So I know some people think that there's still a hockey season. There isn't. It's 12 months a year. So.
Absolutely. Speaking of summer leagues starting up, but also the academies are starting up their final weekend preparations out in Penticton, which will happen the third week of March. We're going to talk to the head coach of the female program at the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, Brad Platt, right after the break. Wayne, we'll see you next week.
Have a great week there, Theo. Take care.
You as well. Like I said, joining us next will be Brad Platt right after the break. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back on the ice.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each. Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Head coach Brad Platt joining me here on the ice. I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Dokes Bookfields, Case Financial Group, the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, of course, and Toby Hockey. Brad, I'm going to catch my breath. Have you caught your breath from the last couple of weeks of travel?
Yeah, no, yeah, we're right back on it again. No, it was good. I like that trip to Penticton. Here to Calgary is not anything special, but the second day is always a little better.
So, beginning of the new month, is there a change in what needs to get done before preparations for the third week of March?
Just hard work. Yeah, we got a tough schedule going into playoffs here, and we got some tough competition before playoffs. Yeah, we've done enough teaching, I think. Well, there's never enough, but it's going to come down to a little bit of heart and desire to be the best player on the ice whenever given the opportunity.
You mentioned that it's been enough. In some eyes, it's been enough teaching. We're in March. We've been at this since September. How do you switch the mindset of the player to say, listen, or is there a reason to switch the mindset that they're starting to play? This is the last kick at the can, so to speak. This is their last big tournament upcoming. How do you, eventually explain to the players that it's a little bit different important?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I wish if I had all the answers, I'd be a millionaire. But yeah, just the desire to, go out there. You've done all this work up until now. Just go out there and try hard. Just have fun. These kids these days, they just have a tough time figuring out that fun part. Fun to me is going out and being hard to play against every shift. And you're going to make mistakes. I have harped on that all year. You're going to make mistakes. It's just a matter of how you can regroup and just go out there and be hard to play against. And that's fun in my eyes, is going out there and feeling like you did something and accomplished something, even though it might not have resonated in a goal or an assist or whatever. If it's a block shot, that's great. Just got to have some fun with it. We've put in a lot of time and energy so far, and I don't want to put a lot of pressure on these young ladies to think they need to be go out and win every game. I still don't. Winning is great, but if you go out there and give us your best, that's all I ask for.
How much can we expect to see the leadership just hit that next level from the veterans that have been on the team for the year or a couple of years now? What are we expecting to get from them to lead this team to finish strong in Penticton?
Yeah, we need everybody, and for sure our leaders, our returning girls. We have a few girls back on defense and a few girls up on forward. We just need them to just believe in themselves and just go and work hard. The rest of the team will follow if they can put it out there. Just a matter of convincing them that that's all we need is just hard work, and everybody else will follow suit.
What's the schedule leading up for the team up until that last drive to Penticton?
Well, we were supposed to play St. Mary's this weekend, but we've put that on hold. We play the rink on Wednesday, tomorrow night here in town. Makeup game from one that was canceled earlier. And just with some sicknesses and some injuries, we're allowed to play those 2 games after playoffs. So actually works out good because St. Mary's is putting on that World Sports School Challenge in Winnipeg at the end of April. So that'll give us some games in there to lead up to that showcase. So which is it's a good tournament, and a lot of scouts get out for that. So I'm looking forward to that. So we play the rink tomorrow night, and then a good week of practices. Try and keep it light, hard work, keep it light, and go into playoffs. And unfortunately, the kids are a little bit blah right now because they see who we're up against, the first place team and the second place team. So we haven't seen either one of them yet, but trying to convince them that, anything can happen. Just if we just go out there and work hard. That Rink Kelowna is a pretty strong team, but there's always upsets in playoffs. You know that.
I certainly do. I remember being a 12th seed, taking on a 4, and then taking on a 1. It can be done. It's a daunting task, but when you put the will and the might together, things could happen. The team was able to experience Penticton. How was it, earlier compared to now? Second time around, what does it feel like in that final tournament for the girls to experience it a second time around, but now with a different agenda?
Yeah, it was actually good to get that trip. We were just out there, a couple of weeks ago, and or maybe not even that long. My days are just flowing together here. But yeah, we got out there. We do our stop at Lake Louise for our team photo and stuff like that. So, we did some sightseeing and that showcase. So, now we go out there. We don't get me wrong, we'll still go and have some fun. We have 1 game a day, so we're gonna put some time in there. But it's go there and just work hard and leave it all out there. There's a little bit of sad faces. Maybe kids are sad because it's almost done, but we keep skating until into May. So it's a bunch of weird emotions. We're up against 2 tough competitors for the first 2 games, and just got to keep these kids focused and keep it light.
How much is a tournament like this on the ice as well as the culture off the ice? What is the experience like for some of these players who haven't experienced this type of scenario before, and how that weekend, it's not really a weekend because it's a little bit longer of a stay, isn't it, in Penticton for the final week?
Well, we're there March 11th to the 13th, basically. Actually, the 14th if you get into the top 4. So, yeah, it's pretty quick turnaround. I don't know. We gotta, being off of hockey or away from hockey with COVID and stuff, you kind of lose that. Kids didn't go to provincials and kids couldn't do tournaments, and stuff like that. So I almost have to retrain these girls that, hey, we're here for a reason, and you know, just have confidence, and we got to have some fun with it too.
What are you best looking for, not only just with the weekend in Penticton, but how this rest of this month, and also knowing that there are games being played in April? How does that have changed your style a little bit? Because we haven't seen games in April that have had this type of tournament feel before.
Yeah, it's going to be different. We're still going to focus on the skills side of it, but having some games in there. Normally, we don't. Even there's some AAA teams that will be going to that showcase or that tournament in Winnipeg. So, you know, there's a potential of getting a few exhibition games in April, and you know, at the end of March. So normally our last couple of months is just strictly skill stuff, and so now adding a tournament in there and a few exhibition games, you know, we'll just mix in the skills with the system side of it, and I think it'll be good though.
Do you recall some of your better memories of Penticton, and you want to share one of them with us?
Out of all the years, or just this year?
Well, I mean, give me a couple. I mean, it doesn't have to be this year, but you've got to have some pretty good stories of things, or stories, or you know, something you've seen off the ice, perhaps, that you know said, you know what, that trip truly meant it, and that made the trip for me. And perhaps it might be some of the memories that the girls bring back as well.
Well, there's some good memories and some goofy ones. Coming home one time, one of the buses not, you know, cooperating with us, and we got both the boys and the girls team and all the coaches, everybody on one bus. So that was a memory that'll stick in my head. I don't know if it was a good one, but that was a pretty jam-packed bus. I always like our stops in Lake Louise. We you know, leave Calgary that second day, and get to the kids have a little sleep for a couple hours, and then pull into Lake Louise for team photos down by the water. So I always remember those ones. I actually got them up on my wall here. Those are good ones. Penticton itself, it's just great weather and great views outside. Taking the team for a little run down the beach, boardwalk. Yeah, we stayed at some kind of Mexican villa one year, so that was fun. It was right on the water, so yeah. Absolutely. There's nothing that really jumps out other than the bus trips. I like going through the mountains.
Last question before I let you get out of there, Brad. When you talk about the culture and how much play in the CSSHL occurs, how does it, you know, keep everything all well-rounded for the student athlete that would attend an academy like Pilot Mound, and how much they grow and mature, not only with their teammates, their classmates, but everything all together?
Yeah, it's amazing to see some of these kids, how they mature throughout the year. You know, they're given some responsibility. They gotta, you know, do their own laundry and then get on these buses and these long bus trips. The first trip, they always have a big suitcase. By the end of the year, it's usually a duffel bag, so they get it all figured out by the end of the season. But you know, so much. You know, we had the kids down doing some work in the rink on the weekend, just doing some cleaning and getting the puck marks off the glass. And you know, it's not child labor, but we want to get these kids involved. Hopefully someday we can get them more involved now that restrictions are getting loosened up a little bit. But yeah, there's everyday time management. You know, just so many skills these kids are learning moving away from home that, you know, mommy and daddy can't do for them anymore. But no, I'd have a tough time leaving, doing anything different after being in a situation like this. I've coached in a lot of different leagues and situations, and I just love it here just for what the kids learn on and off the ice. Absolutely.
No, it certainly is. It is a 24/7 lesson in maturity. I think that's the one thing that you can obviously take home from visiting and being a part of the Pilot Mount Buffalo hockey program. Brad, I will let you go. You had some planning to do for tomorrow night. Good luck against the rink. I know it's going to be a very enlightening and busy game tomorrow. I have a feeling.
I hope so. I hope it is.
And we wish you the best of good luck. And if we talk to you before Penticton, great. If not, I'm sure we'll get the summary of how the week went down in BC.
Right on. Thanks, Theo.
Brad's my pleasure. Brad Platt, head coach of the female program at the Pilot Mount Buffaloes. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Just one quick shout out to everybody watching. I want to give many thanks and wishes for everybody watching. I want to thank you very much for doing so. You can find us now on all our social media streams as well as the Roku's and Apple TV, I should say. Shouts and prayers go out to everybody who has family or relatives or friends over in Ukraine. Please sending our deepest wishes and hopes that things can get solved quicker than later. But I know it's weighing on a lot of our minds. I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us here on ASTV. Give a shout out to our sponsors, Dokes Book Fuels, Case Financial Group, Pilot Mount Hockey Academy, as well as Toby Hockey. Our next show will be on Thursday, where we'll discuss more about the ins and outs of junior hockey. I'd like to thank both of our guests tonight and, of course, everyone that's watching. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves, bringing more goodness to greatness here on ASTV. Have a great rest of the evening. Bye-bye for now.